You are listening to Small Business Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. Amber is a sought-after coach, trainer, speaker, and writer who gives small business owners the straight talk on productivity, time management, business systems, leading your teams, strategic decision-making, and mindset. No BS, fluff, or overused jargon. Just actionable strategies to get results and succeed in business. And here is your host, Amber De La Garza, the productivity specialist.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to the Small Business Straight Talk podcast. Today is episode 372, Self-Negotiation. Stop sabotaging your business success. If you're a small business owner who wants to learn effective business strategies, improve time management, and elevate productivity to maximize profits, reduce stress, and make time for what matters most, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. Have you noticed that as business owners, we're experts at negotiation? But sometimes we use those skills against ourselves, talking ourselves out of the tasks that would actually move our businesses forward. Stick around because in today's episode, I'm going to show you how to identify when you're negotiating with yourself and help you understand the real cost of this negative habit so that you can instead choose to follow through consistently on what matters most. And before we jump into today's episode, I want to invite you to take my next level business owner quiz. What is more productive than taking 3 quick minutes to find out what's most holding you back from taking your business to the next level? Once you find out, you will get a curated playlist from the podcast in your inbox with specific episodes that address those exact pain points. Head on over to amberdelagarza.com/quiz. And now, let's get to the straight talk. Have you ever noticed how skilled you are at talking yourself out of things? Maybe it's that important proposal you plan to finish, the uncomfortable conversation you need to have with a team member, or even something as simple as sticking to your morning routine. As business owners, our ability to negotiate is usually considered a strength, except when we turn the tables and negotiate against ourselves. That's the moment when our greatest business assets become our biggest obstacles to growth. Today, I want to talk about a pattern I see in nearly every business owner I work with, including myself. The habit of negotiating with ourselves. What makes this particularly dangerous is that it's often invisible. Yeah, we don't know we're doing it, or at least not in the moment. We don't even realize we're doing it until we've missed deadlines, we have broken promises to others or to ourselves, and we've created a pattern of inconsistency that undermines our growth. The self-negotiation shows up as seemingly reasonable justifications for not doing what we've already decided is important. It steals our momentum, drains our confidence, and creates endless cycles of redecision-making that exhausts our mental energy. Let's dive into what self-negotiation looks like. Self-negotiation happens in that critical gap between deciding to do something and actually doing it. As business owners, we need to recognize this pattern quickly before it derails our productivity and progress. The most telling signs of self-negotiation is that internal dialogue that begins after you've already committed to an action. It's that little voice that starts creating reasons, excuses, and justifications for why you shouldn't follow through with what you've already decided is important. Decision-making is a thoughtful process of weighing options and making choices. Self-negotiation, however, happens after you've already decided something is important. It's the process of talking yourself out of executing that decision. This self-negotiation typically reveals itself through specific thought patterns and phrases. I can do it later. But later rarely comes, does it? It's not that important to fill in the blank, finish the proposal, update the website, send the email. I don't feel like doing it right now, as if our feelings should dictate our business decisions. Are you finding yourself revisiting decisions you've already made? That's a clear sign you're in negotiation mode with yourself. When I find myself having an internal dialogue that rationalizes not taking action, that's the first red flag. It's that quiet voice making it okay not to do something I've already decided is important. I've noticed this pattern, especially when it comes to, wait for it, recording my podcast episodes. I'll tell myself, my energy isn't great to do this right now, leaning into the belief that I need to feel a certain way before I record. Or I convince myself that if I don't have enough time to start and finish recording the episode in one sitting, I shouldn't start at all. Recognizing these patterns is the first step. Now let's look at what these negotiations actually sound like in our minds. As business owners, we're master negotiators. Unfortunately, we often use these skills against ourselves. Let's identify the most common self-negotiation tactics that might be sabotaging your business growth. The perfect timing fallacy. This is the belief that there will be an ideal moment to start something important. You'll hear yourself saying things like, I'll launch this program when things slow down a bit. I need to do more research before I get started. I'll wait until it's not busy, or not as busy, or it's not busy season. Have you thought or said similar things to yourself? Perfect timing rarely arrives. Successful business owners take imperfect action rather than waiting for the perfect conditions. The complexity exaggeration. This tactic involves mentally transforming manageable tasks into overwhelming projects. You inflate what's required to get started. This will take me hours to figure out. I need to overhaul my entire system before I implement this. There are too many moving parts to handle right now. It will take me all day to complete. When you find yourself making something bigger than it is, it's often a sign you're negotiating yourself out of action. And boy, do I have a doozy of an example that just happened. It was the day after New Year's, and Christmas is wrapped, and I normally actually have Christmas down and put away before the New Year's. Yes, I am that person. But it's the day after New Year's, the house cleaner's coming, and I thought, absolutely not. Are we having Christmas still out? I want a fresh start to the new year, and I'm getting all this stuff put away. Well, in a rush, I collected all of the Christmas decor, and I did not have time to properly organize it, get it back up in the attic, and put it away. And so I said, okay, I'm just going to throw it, literally shove it into the extra bedroom, and I will circle back and get to it. The problem with that plan is when I collected all the Christmas decor from the entire house and shoved it into the spare bedroom, as you can imagine, it looked like a huge mess. Now, mind you, my son was right in the middle of wrestling season. For any wrestling parents out there, you know how crazy intense the wrestling season is. So I thought, okay, I'll wait till the end of January when wrestling season's over. To which my son got really, really sick and had some really complications with medical. So we were handling that. And then we had some family commitments, and then we had vacation. And when I said, and then we had vacation, I'm alluding to spring break that happened in March. Yes, between the beginning of January and the end of March, I made this task and project so big. I was telling myself, oh my gosh, it's going to take days to get back in there and reorganize everything and put it away. And who has days and who wants to spend their entire weekend reorganizing Christmas decor? And so I just kept putting it off until this last weekend. Yes, the beginning of April. And I went in there and I said, I'm going to just get started. I gave myself permission to not finish it. And you see, that was the challenge here. In my head, I had made this into such a big project that got compoundedly larger and larger over the months that I was stuck on the fact that, wait for it, you heard me say it earlier, that I'd need to start and finish it at the same time. Well, once I said, hey, you know what? You got 2 hours. Let's just see what you can accomplish in 2 hours. Can I tell you that I not only cleaned out the extra bedroom, I was organizing my Christmas ornaments by color. Yes, project completely done. And to my surprise, but not really my surprise, because I've seen this play out so many times in business for myself and for clients, is that we make these projects and tasks so big that we never get started. And in reality, they're just not that big. So I am not immune to this. I know these tactics that we play on ourselves, and this just happened to me. In fact, if you're a client, you know the phrase, is this the monster in the closet? This is literally the monster in my, not closet, but spare room. And if you're a client, you know this because it's come up where I've said, is this thing actually that big? My clients will tell me a story, they'll give me how big it is, and it's my job as the coach to break it down into actionable steps and call it out. Is this actually factual or is this a story? And the whole analogy here is that for all of you parents out there that have had young ones and your child calls you into their room in the middle of the night, and they're crying and they're upset and they swear there's a monster in the closet. And you're like, no, there's not. No, there's not. And here's the truth. You open the closet. You assure them there's no monster in the closet. And you take the teddy bear out. And the teddy bear was actually their favorite stuffed animal. And this was true for me too. Like full circle moment, like organizing things is my jam. It was my teddy bear in the closet, but I turned it into a big ugly monster. And so I'd have to ask to you, where have you done this in your business? Where are you doing this in your business now? And can you pull the teddy bear out of the closet to see that it's a teddy bear and not a monster? Next, the false urgency switch. This is when suddenly everything else becomes urgent when faced with an important but challenging task. You may think things like, I should really answer these emails first. Let me just clean my desk before I get started. I need to handle these client requests before focusing on my own business. This self-negotiation tactic cleverly disguises procrastination as productivity. And then we have the energy excuse. This is convincing yourself that you need to be in a particular emotional or physical state to take action. Remember when I said, I don't have the right energy to record my podcast? That was an energy excuse. It could also sound like, I'm not feeling inspired today. I'm not feeling creative today. I need to be more rested before I tackle fill in the blank. I'll wait until I'm more confident. Business growth happens regardless of how we feel on any given day. Next, the comparison trap. This is when you perceive others having an unfair advantage and using it to justify your own inaction. You may think things like, they have resources, connections, experience that I don't have. It's easier for them because fill in the blank, all the reasons why it's easier for them. I need what they have before I can succeed. This negotiation tactic keeps you focused on what you lack rather than leveraging what you have. Perhaps the most dangerous tactic is the future self fantasy. This tactic assumes your future self will somehow have more discipline, energy, or resources than your current self. I'll have more time next week, next month, next quarter, next year. Have you ever really found more time without intentionally making the time? Future me will be more disciplined, organized, and motivated. I'll be more equipped to handle this later. Later when? This negotiation tactic relieves present discomfort by placing burdens on your future self, who will likely face the same challenges and use the same excuses. You might be thinking, okay, I recognize myself in some of these negotiation tactics, but what is the real harm? Let me show you why this matters more than you might think. These hidden costs accumulate and can severely impact your business success. First, there's momentum loss. Each time you negotiate yourself out of action, you break valuable momentum. Think of business momentum as a business superpower. It makes each subsequent action easier than the last. Starting and stopping repeatedly requires significantly more energy than maintaining consistent forward motion. Once momentum is lost, the barrier to restart feels increasingly higher. The psychological weight of getting back on track grows heavier with each delay. Then there's opportunity costs. Every time we pause to negotiate with ourselves, opportunities could pass you by. Market trends and opportunities evolve whether we're ready or not. Potential clients may find alternative solutions while you take too long to finalize that perfect proposal to send. The business landscape continues to change and develop while you procrastinate taking action on that new service offering. These missed opportunities represent potential growth that gets delayed. There's also confidence erosion. Your relationship with yourself as a business owner is fundamentally built on trust. Every time you negotiate out of a commitment that you made to yourself, you teach yourself that your decisions aren't firm. Your self-trust gradually diminishes with each broken promise. Over time, you begin to doubt your own judgment and capabilities. This erosion of self-confidence affects everything from your decision-making to how you show up with clients. When your confidence and your consistency wavers, several things could happen. For example, you may hold back your best ideas in a client meeting because you're afraid you won't follow through with those ideas. Your communication might become irregular, making clients question your reliability. You might avoid setting clear expectations or boundaries with clients, fearing you can't consistently maintain them. The compounding effect is a business that reflects your internal uncertainty rather than your true expertise and potential. The good news is that by recognizing this pattern, you can rebuild that self-trust through consistent follow-through on your commitments, starting with small wins and building from there. Increased decision fatigue is another huge hidden cost of self-negotiation. Repeatedly revisiting the same decisions drains your mental energy. Each renegotiation consumes valuable cognitive resources. Your capacity for other important business decisions diminishes. Creative thinking and problem-solving abilities suffer. Think about this. Your mental energy is perhaps the most precious and limited resource as a business owner. Can you imagine preserving that energy for only high-value decisions? When you stop negotiating with yourself about decisions you've already made, you free up tremendous mental capacity. This preserved mental energy becomes available for strategic thinking, creative problem solving, and staying fully present with clients and team members. Decision fatigue creates a downward spiral where making choices becomes increasingly exhausting, leading to more negotiation and avoidance. By recognizing this pattern, you can begin to protect your mental resources for where they matter most in your business. Next, there's team culture impact. As a business owner, your habits set the standard. Your team members observe and adopt your self-negotiation patterns. Deadlines become seen as flexible rather than firm. Commitments throughout your business become optional rather than non-negotiable. Perhaps most critically, when you regularly negotiate with yourself as a leader, you may find it extremely difficult to hold team members accountable. After all, how can you firmly address missed deadlines or incomplete work when you're constantly moving your own goalposts? This creates a silent permission structure that undermines the entire performance culture of your business. The cost here isn't just productivity, but in the fundamental integrity of your business culture. And finally, there's the hidden cost of financial leakage. The most concrete cost of self-negotiation shows up directly in your bottom line. Delayed product or service launches postpone revenue. Procrastinated pricing updates leaves money on the table. Postponed client outreach reduces your sales pipeline. Avoided financial reviews hide profit-draining problems. This continuous financial leakage often goes unnoticed because it represents money you never received rather than money you lost. But the impact on your business is just as real. Understanding these costs is compelling, but awareness without action doesn't create change. What comes next is where transformation begins, and that's building accountability systems that will help you honor commitments instead of allowing yourself to negotiate. Systems that will help you build the self-trust and momentum that makes each next commitment easier to keep. Next week, this is a 2-part series. So next week, I'm going to dive into how you can effectively build external and internal accountability systems so you can break the pattern of consistent negotiation with yourself and take consistent action in your business. We've covered a lot of ground today in our journey to overcome self-negotiation. Let's wrap up the key points. First, we learned how to identify self-negotiation, that internal dialogue that happens in the gap between deciding and doing. Remember, decision-making is healthy, but self-negotiation happens after you've already decided something is important. Second, we explored the common negotiation tactics we use on ourselves, from the perfect timing fallacy to the future self fantasy. Being able to name these tactics when they appear is half the battle. And finally, we uncovered the hidden cost of self-negotiation, the momentum lost, confidence erosion, decision fatigue, team culture impact, and financial leakage that occurs when we consistently talk ourselves out of taking action. Remember, each time you follow through on a commitment instead of negotiating your way out of it, you're rebuilding trust with yourself. And that self-trust is the foundation of all business success. When you trust yourself to do what you said you will do, your team, your clients, and business will reflect the same level of trust and consistency. Financial leakage, team culture impact, confidence erosion. These costs of self-negotiation are simply too high for passionate business owners to ignore. Join me next week as I dive into external and internal accountability systems for your business, a powerful defense against self-negotiation. I have loved having you listen to this episode of the Small Business Straight Talk podcast, and I sure hope you found our conversation around self-negotiation to be valuable. But I need to be straight with you. No change, no change. Without taking action, nothing will change for you or your business. So what's the one step I want you to take today? Identifying the ways in which you are negotiating yourself out of taking consistent action in your business, and commit to following through with what you plan to do. Half the battle is acknowledging your own tendencies, your patterns. I shared with you some of my tendencies to negotiate with myself. I know what those are, so I know to be looking out for them. Chances are you don't use every tactic I shared with you today, but I bet you have some favorites. So I want you to take the time to identify your favorites so that you can be hyper aware in the moment when it's happening, so that this isn't silently sabotaging your productivity and business. I want to invite you to schedule a discovery call if you are looking for a business coach that can help you with managing your time, creating efficiency, helping you with that next hire, reduce the stress and overwhelm of running a business, making strategic decisions, having someone that is helping hold you accountable to the goals that you have for yourself. If that sounds like something that you're looking for in your business, then I invite you to head on over to amberdelagarza.com/coaching and schedule a discovery call today. I would love to just discuss what it would look like working together and decide if working together is the next best step for you and your business. And if you are new here, I want to welcome you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss another episode. And if you've enjoyed today's episode and you have a business friend who you think would find it valuable, who you think or know is dealing with self-negotiation, please share this episode with them. So that's my straight talk for today. Until next time, have a productive week.